Ladies, find yourself a man like the writers of this film loved Shakespeare here on V'ger Please. A special presentation. My name is Joseph.
No more neutral zone. Ugh! There goes the property value in the colony. I'm your co-host, Peter.
Peter, this is a episode we are producing as a consequence of our lovely Patreon followers and subscribers. So thank you to all of them. And in a tradition of that, we are reviewing a movie, a Star Trek movie. In fact, the last of the original series Star Trek movies. What did we watch this week?
Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Release date December 6th, 1991. The sixth of 14 Star Trek films. 14 has to include piece of shit section 31, right?
Absolutely, it does.
I'm sorry. The sixth of 13 Star Trek films.
Thank you.
Screenplay, Nicholas Meyer, Danny Martin Flynn. Story by Leonard Nimoy, Lawrence Kohner, and Mark Rosenthal. Directed by Nicholas Meyer. Production, Stephen Charles Jaffe and Ralph Winter. In universe date 2293. Nick Meyer, specifically.
Yes.
Gave us the OG banger, Wrath of Khan, Star Trek II. Also gave us A Voyage Home, which I did not care for, but obviously huge success.
Yes. He's responsible for the three principal financial successes in Star Trek films. Amongst the original ones.
And again, I didn't like The Voyage Home, and the majority of our fans didn't like The Voyage Home. But
it's okay, I forgive them.
I'm not taking anything away from The Voyage Home in terms of making Star Trek accessible to the masses, which, yes, does have the financial side effect of making a lot of goddamn money. But it has brought people in, it has enriched the property, and it did no harm, right? This wasn't Kirk giving the Borg permission to continue existing and terrorizing. Life is like, nobody made a massive stupid decision that hurt Star Trek. It was just kind of corny.
It was a comedy movie.
So I would say Nick Meyer is the golden goose.
Yeah, this movie I have a lot of personal regard for. It is my personal favorite Star Trek movie and one of my favorite pieces of Trek. That's not to say it's the best, like on a qualitative level. We'll get to that. But it's my favorite.
Say that again?
This is my favorite piece of Star Trek media.
But you're not saying it's the best.
It is definitely not the best. But it is my favorite. And it's a mix of its overall quality, which I think is very good, with some flaws. But also that this was one of the two major entry points to me into Star Trek. So showing my age, my parents taped this on a VHS cassette for me when it was on TV at my request, because it was on past my bedtime. And so I wore that tape out watching the TV cut of this movie. I loved it. And I was right at the age, like, I want to say I was like 9-10 years old by the time this was on television, where I'm starting to get a little bit better sense of reality in the world. And, my simple brain is starting to connect a little bit more sophisticated thoughts. And this movie, it is a sort of prototype for the sort of realpolitik Trek that we're watching right now in Deep Space Nine. Because we're recording this in May of 2025. We've just finished season 2 of Deep Space Nine. And this movie, both figuratively and literally, killed Roddenberry Trek. And I say literally because Gene Roddenberry saw this movie and was so pissed, he had a heart attack and died. Because if you want to talk about a movie that sort of makes realistic the world that he built to try and add some texture to things, that, not maybe every single person in the Federation is a good guy. Maybe there's conflict. Maybe there's a textured reality that we need to start to explore as it relates to people's biases and them overcoming them as part of the story. This is really where that begins. And I think I really connected with the movie because I liked that part of it. And it wasn't until much later when I watched Deep Space Nine and watched, the sophistication of that sort of evolve into a really serialized storytelling that took itself very, very seriously, did I really understand, like, oh, okay, no, this is why I liked it, is because it was trying to tell, in a fantastic world, a realistic story.
Just put a lot of info and a lot of talking points out there. I was not aware that Roddenberry did not like this.
He was so pissed. He was ranting to his lawyer and trying to stop the movie from being um, shown, like from being released, and then he had a heart attack and died.
Skipping to the very end of the podcast, I fucking love this movie. And I am hard pressed to give you any points of it that I do not think were anything short of stellar. Like this is going to be a Patreon episode of oral fellatio here. All right.
Listen, I'm gonna be right there with you. Again, skipping to the end, like the things that don't hold up in this movie to me are specifically some of the comedy beats that they
Oh, what?
yeah, like the because they make the crew too buffoonish. Like, I particularly don't like the scene when they're trying to fake knowing Klingon to get into Praxis, or Rio Penthe rather. And it's like, you mean to tell me that Uhura doesn't know fucking Klingon? She's a communications officer on the flagship of the
You mean to
Federation.
tell me you're going to sit there through the fucking voyage home and tell me that that was great? And then the few times they sprinkle comedy in here, that's offensive.
It's not that comedy is offensive. It's just like, did you have to make the
I thought
jokes? You know,
it was fun. I'll tell you, the hard part for me, and this is all Star Trek, as it pertains to not watching in the true spirit of Star Trek. I have watched these outside of the chains of capitalism.
yes, you have.
I've watched them in a post-scarcity utopia. And in this post-scarcity utopia, much like Uhura, I do not have access to the Klingon language because the subtitles were not present where I was watching them. And fucking Discovery was the worst with... If you're going to put Klingon on screen, don't make it part of the subtitles. Just have it burned into the fucking film. So there's a couple parts of this where I don't know what anybody was saying.
And
And
so,
I,
like, yeah, there was like two scenes, right? Like the briefing scene in the after Azidwar becomes the chancellor,
yep.
and which I'll assure you, like, it's essentially the same scene that happens in Federation headquarters, which is the point.
Yeah, and like that's a cool thing is usually with Klingons, there's enough like physical acting that you can still kind of understand what's going on. I did go through this movie though, thinking that she was part of the conspiracy against her father.
I
Because
mean, that's a fair thought.
so by the end, where she was like happy and a good guy, I was like, oh well, I read that one wrong.
That,
um,
I also, and again, like, because I'm nitpicking now, so we can fillet this movie later. There is a very specific scene that so makes the conspiracy whodunit element bad that is not actually present in the TV edit, and I never knew was in the theatrical edit until years later.
did you
Of
ever watch the director's cut? Because apparently
Yeah,
there's one of those out there too.
yeah,
What's
I've
what's
watched the
missing out?
director's cut. All of Rene Abenjeros' scenes are in it.
Oh no!
Yeah, so I got lore. I got lore for you.
I tried lots of technical difficulties on me
Yeah.
watching this one, and
So
I'm not going to go into. But real quick, to Roddenberry hating this fucking thing, like there has become a very real line in the sand, especially while watching these movies, because this is really the stuff he's the most involved in, and like the story of a guy that made something that was much bigger than him or became bigger than him
yeah,
in some great ways and some bad ways, and just by the end, like the cataloged on film proof that sometimes you got to step away and let other people take the helm because they can do better than what you're doing, and that you have either lost touch with what the property should be or could be, or that the baton needs to be passed off, because the core he created was fucking great and
yeah.
absolutely deserving of next generation forward. But like, it just got to a point where it's like, dude, your vision is incorrect now, and
Your vision is limited by your priors. And the thing is when you create something this big, you inspire people. You get them to think about it in ways that you can't because you don't have the same lived experiences. You're not coming in from the same angle. The people that are coming behind you are now living in a world where your product existed and they are able to spend their entire lives thinking about what they could do with it. Terry Metalis is a perfect example of that
yeah.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
And like Terry Metalis was able to create something that only someone like Terry Metalis could do because he lived his entire life in a world with Star Trek in it. And so Star Wars was much the same way, right? Like there was a lot of talk right around when Lucas decided to sell it of like your creative vision for this product is no longer sufficient.
Yeah, listen, you're
And it was the wrong decision
yeah,
ultimately, but like
you're taking my argument right now and you're pointing to the big
yeah,
counter
well,
arguments
yeah,
saying I'm wrong.
well, it's not that the idea that maybe Lucas's vision was limited. It's that he gave it, unfortunately, to a bunch of soulless capitalists whom he called, and I remember this quite clearly, white
White
slavers.
slavers, yep.
And he got
Mm-hmm.
exactly what he was fearing would happen, which is that they would, they turn it into slop. So, but in this case, Nick Meyer came into this with a different focus, and he was able to hit 2 home runs in the form of this movie and Star Trek 2. And I think a solid effort for what was the intention for Star Trek 4. And it's because he doesn't have Roddenberry's priors about it having to be a certain way. He can
And that's
envision it being a different way.
another part. People are coming up with the advantage of a young lifetime of living in this and thinking what if, and watching the episodes and understanding the source material as presented on screen to a degree you are not, because you're looking at it from production issues, this and that, and theoreticals instead of like what has actually been established as canon and as printed material. And also not being beheld to your core prime directives, right?
Right.
And you look at the movies that Roddenberry was actually able to have full control over, the motion picture specifically. You look at the first, the real early front end of season 1 of TNG.
Yeah.
And this presentation of humanity that is more alien to you and I than a lot of the aliens that they're interacting with, because you have these advanced, altruistic people of tomorrow's tomorrow interacting with these aliens that embody common day greed and flaw and social woe, right?
Correct.
And the goal, I think, of everyone else around Roddenberry was to make the members of the Enterprise more real, more accessible, more relatable, and to
Yeah.
put them into situations where the people of 1980s and 1990s could realistically be.
Identify. Yeah.
And,
Like see
and that's
themselves
how
in
you
them.
bring better drama. You can't sit there and have Picard and Beverly absolutely baffled and horrified at the concept that a human being could have a headache and that we have annihilated headaches in the future. That's how fucking crazy and sci-fi they are. Taking Kirk and being like, I've got a fucking chip on the shoulder because these guys killed my son and I don't want to forgive them, and hating them feels, I've been hating someone for so long that it feels like it's part of me, and the idea of letting that go scares me.
Yeah. You absolutely can identify with that motivation, right? Like, yes, I get it. And when you can do that, you're invested. You're no longer seeing these people as something that's so impenetrably alien, small a, that it's hard to really care about what's happening.
You're seeing past the space pajamas and you're getting compelling television or media that is a great story, that hits emotional beats, that has good action, and has the sci-fi filter where it's people in space pajamas flying around in a spaceship faster than light and magically transporting themselves. And like that other stuff is just like decorations. The core story is there and hitting. And that's what this fucking thing has, man. Like,
Yeah.
Wrath of Khan is great. I think this is a better movie
Really?
Maybe the banger speeches aren't there, right?
I feel like Wrath of Khan qualitatively can be seen as a better movie because it's a very close story, right? It's just these two men having a conflict with each other. Consequences of that conflict, they expand, they involve a lot of other people, but his focus is tight. And where this movie has a little bit of a problem is that it has a great A plot in the very clear Cold War, end of Cold War allegory that they decided to go with, which is brilliant, right? We have a space Cold War, there's a space Chernobyl, and Space Gorbachev decides to end, the conflict with the space America, right? Like, okay, perfect. This is a great way to go. And they occasionally start to get away from that. Like, when you talk about Kirk and his core motivation and how Shatner very brilliantly decides to play the line here of like, I got dragged into as my last mission. I have to fucking eat an entire plate of ass and deal with the people who killed my son, and I don't fucking like it. And we get too far into, the politics of Klingons and like it kind of wavers in the whodunit piece, which it spoils its own plot as it relates to that, which is one of my complaints. Like they have that stupid scene where Valeris talks to the two mooks in advance of anything happening, so you know what the fuck happened. And okay, like I know you have to have a plot. I know we have to do something here, but you don't have that in Wrath of Khan. Wrath of Khan is like Khan is here. He's gonna fucking kill Kirk. Kirk has to do something about what Khan is up to. That's this plot. I think that makes it a better film, but I'm right there with you. It's still amazing.
All of your complaints I see as strengths, minus the one scene where she kind of tips her hand that she's part of the conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is not in the TV cut, which
this
is so
thing,
much better. When that scene isn't there, it actually helps the movie a lot.
the wider scope of the movie, the more ensemble-y it is, because you've got a lot of stuff going on in a lot of different places, whereas Khan, the camera is always on Kirk or it is always on Khan, right?
Right.
That's that tight focus you're talking about. Like, the world building that this thing does in all the right ways, the establishment of the big picture of Starfleet and of the Federation, the heavy inclusion of the civilian element.
Yeah.
And that's in two, right? And that's
The
a
government. Yeah.
strong part on
You get to see the Federation
Nick
president. You
Myers,
get to see
right?
diplomacy happen.
Space Boddicker,
Yeah. Space Boddicker is in this film.
which we
President Sung Soon or
Shang
fuck he
Tsung.
is. Yeah.
Jump back to Year of Hell, and just how what's his name, Red Kirkwood Smith, how he just popped, and like we heavily were like, this dude, for being in this two-parter all of like 6 minutes or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, he's barely on screen, and the uplift he puts on that episode and just outclasses everybody. Like, surprise, the guy is a fucking movie actor. Like, RoboCop was a fun B action movie that just fucking knocked out of the park, but like, here he is doing fucking big Star Trek shit. Like, the guy is a movie star who did get into TV heavy with that 70s show, but like in Voyager, you can very clearly see like there is a difference between movie actors and TV show actors.
Very much so.
Back at that point.
I can't wait for you to see Kirkwood Smith's DS9 episode, by the way.
I can't wait either. But Nick Meyer, very rightfully, maybe this is the first time we see it, because like civilian Earth is never touched from what I saw really in TOS, and it's never really touched in TNG early seasons, and really not touched at all until you get into the Picard goes home to Chateau Picard and like has to deal with Wolf 359, right?
And even then, like the government of the Federation is a pretty impenetrable idea.
It's a
it
family
never touched
episode.
upon. Yeah.
So seeing Nick Meyer starting with talking about the civilian sector in terms of Kirk's child and wife, and like how they interact and view Starfleet as a military And then everything in here, like, it's critical world building that had to happen to really understand who are these guys that are volunteering for Starfleet and living this ridiculous life of space horror and danger. So all of that's great. I love how big the scope of the movie is, all the moving pieces, all the, not behind the scenes, but stuff that's happening outside of the bridge of the Enterprise to.
Very kinetic movie, like
Mhm.
lots of movement. Very cheap movie. Let's talk a little bit about the.
How?
It was done on a slow budget, I should say. It's very effectively done on a low budget. The
Everything
primary.
about this drips big and great. And watching it on 1080p instead of 4K, which it should have fucking been an hour of trying to get.
Yeah, it's okay.
Seeing the set pieces, seeing the captain's chairs on the Excelsior and the Enterprise versus how fucking bad they looked in every other movie. Like, it looks like they went into this one and said, okay, you guys can have a real budget and everything's going to look great. There's
Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. They were strictly limited to first 25 million, and they had to beg, borrow, and steal to get to 30. Paramount was in a bad place at this time. This movie had development hell written all over it. That's why there's a million names attached to the story, screenplay, and production. It's because people were getting fired in the middle of stuff because the studio was in trouble. They every set you see aside from Kronos 1, I think, is a reuse of a Next Generation set. Every single one of them.
I love it. I love it.
They had to shoot it on the off season for TNG to be able to do the movie at all, because it was the only way that they could have access to sufficient amount of sets to be able to do it with the money that they had. All of the cast had to take deferred payments on their salary relative to dependence on the success of the movie, which it was very successful, made almost $100 million, which was a lot at the time. And I think this goes back to a theme that we have discussed in the past many times, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
When you have low budgets and you've got to make it work, suddenly creativity starts to flow forth and your actors get to carry scenes, and suddenly you're spending a lot of time doing really dramatic Shakespeare readings with Christopher Plummer, and it's like, wow, maybe this was the thing we should have been doing all along. Maybe money is a distraction, you know.
Star Trek thrives when you are forced to make the TV show about people talking in a room.
Yeah, and you make actors act. They love that. It's what they like to do, and this movie has a lot of that. I think, DeForest Kelly's kind of older at this point, so he's not as much of a factor in this maybe as he was in, say, Wrath of Khan by comparison. But I love Shatner.
They give him juicy shit though too, man. His performance on Trial.
Oh yeah,
addressing him as a doctor, perfect.
Oh, and you would talk about the comedy that works. Him and Kirk in prison on Rua Penthe, excellent, great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the standouts are definitely, Shatner and Nimoy.
So the budget, again, we're coming into this from The Final Frontier, which was Kirk meets God.
Yes. Kirk fights God.
And wins.
It wins.
The Klingons kill God. Which was terrible.
It was.
And I fucking hated it. And I'm sure at the time, I'm looking at the grossing right now, domestically it only grossed 52 versus this one came in at 74. So,
And that's just US. Like, overall, Undiscovered Country did 96.8, which was a big deal. This revitalized Trek as a cinematic property. Generations and First Contact get made because this movie was successful.
So they get back in. What prompted this? Was it the actors wanting one last hurrah? Because again, I saw Leonard Nimoy was involved.
So it was straight up like Star Trek V sucked. We don't want that to be the end. It doesn't really have an ending. We want an ending. And that's another reason I think I love this movie. It's like I love endings, right? Let's have the last journey, the last mission of the old crew. So this movie takes place in 2293. which is interesting because Star Trek 5 took place in 2287. So it has actually been 5 to 6 years in universe since that happened. So whatever adventures that Kirk has as captain of the Enterprise A, they occur off screen, right? And we are now at the end. We are told right at the start, our crew's about to stand down. We're all on Earth, like we're wrapping up our service. A lot of us are retiring. Some of us are going on to other uh, assignments, but this is the end of the journey, and we know that right off the rip because one character who's part of the main crew and who isn't going to be present on the Enterprise at all is one Captain Hakiro Sulu, who is in charge of your favorite ship, the USS Excelsior.
Mm-hmm.
So here it is, man. You get to see the bridge of the Excelsior. You get to see the model of the Excelsior. They went back to ILM for the effects, as we can so obviously see because they're good.
They're amazing. And I'm sitting or watching this, and I'm forced to ask myself, I'm like, damn, man, like, am I watching some sort of like enhanced edition where they went back and like touched things up, or is this
It
the
just
original?
looks that good. Yeah.
Looks fucking amazing. And we watched, when was Generations? 95?
Yes.
It's essentially the same technology, and it's the same production level. I wouldn't say there was anything ship-wise that I saw in Generations that looked markedly better than this.
I mean, they use the same bird of prey explosion effect in Generations as they do. It's the exact same shot. They just reuse it.
And that's to say it all looks amazing. It's not the over-reliance on CGI. It's models. It's people that give a fuck, and it all looks titties across the board. So Praxis exploding.
Yeah.
The shockwave, Excelsior trying to ride through, like all the ship external shots look great. And again, you're seeing the Excelsior bridge that does not look like it was furnished out of garage sale material. Everything looks great. The only time I saw anything that looked shitty, everything looks amazing. Wrath of Khan, watching that in 1080p, the amount of marks and just mistakes and gouges and scrapes on the set. It looked like someone was moving furniture nonstop through those turbo lifts without putting up the blanket drapes to protect the wall.
Yeah.
Everything looks great. All the consoles look clicky and functional and great. The only thing I saw through the entire movie that looked like, gosh, that looked bad, in Spock's quarters, the inside of the door, it looks like, again, someone was moving a couch and scraped the inside of the door up. So I don't know what TNG set piece that was, but you're telling me they couldn't
That was Data's quarters.
Data must have anger issues and be throwing shit. Or Scratch was really, no, Spot.
Yeah. I mean, some of it's obvious, like the transporter room's the Enterprise D transporter room. The sick bay is the Enterprise D sick bay. The engine room is the Enterprise D engine room. But the lab is Crusher's office, and then I think the galley was Counselor Troy's office.
I'm assuming that the dinner table was a conference room.
That was the observation lounge.
Conference room, yeah.
Yeah.
Aw, no use 10 forward.
No, 10 forward's the president's office.
All right. Well.
So like I said, they used all of the ports of the Buffalo, man. They did it all. So yeah, the Excelsior looks great. Sulu's in command. He looks great. He's drinking out of his cool teacup, which of course famously was a prop they chose that he specifically asked they save rather than destroying the shot because it was so cool. He was right. I actually have the Enterprise A version of that as a memento of my own, by the way. Found it at a flea market once.
Solid find. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Very solid find. Very
There's
happy
some
with
Star
that.
Trek shit you're not allowed to buy yourself because it's a dumb waste of money and you look bad for buying it. But if you can find it at Goodwill,
it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they get hit by the energy wave, and it's space Chernobyl, right? Like we are on the nose here.
I can't tell you the last time I saw this movie. And I've watched the HBO miniseries Chernobyl, which I fucking love because, of course, it's a big industrial accident.
Yeah. It's like porn for you.
having the presentation of Chernobyl through that HBO miniseries frames everything that happens in this movie perfectly, because I wasn't really old enough to understand the USSR or Chernobyl or any of that stuff because I was a child when it happened. So having an
Right.
adult understanding of how Chernobyl destroyed the USSR because it lost their credibility as a administrative governing body, and it bankrupted them with the amount of resources that it took to stop uh, this poisonous hole that was going to kill everything, as well as crippling their energy infrastructure, like
And destroys their diplomatic
everything.
everything. Yeah.
It's either we have to fundamentally change who we are at a core level and sacrifice everything, or we will die here.
Which is precisely what's set up in this film by this. It's shortcut. We don't have to know the details of how and why this ecological disaster has ruined the Klingon Empire. We just merely need to know this is their Chernobyl moment. This is
The
where
one
things
thing
have flown apart.
they don't touch on in the movie, I think, that they could have, is that the Federation has the choice of let the Klingon Empire die in 50 years and rot on the vine, or show mercy and allow them to evolve into something that is not an enemy, right?
Right.
And I think a very valid strategy for the Klingons could have been we either open our borders and enter into a good faith treaty with the Federation and get out of this Cold War, or we die on the vine, or now we're in an energy crunch and we are short on resources, and you have resources, and we go into full scale war and we invade the Federation, and now I don't need Praxis because I have Earth's resources.
And that's the tension in the film. It's we we either take this monumental step towards peace, because the alternative is that the conservative elements, what does this Spock say? The conservative elements in his government will prevail and they will die trying to destroy us, because that's the only other option they have left. um the the setup is perfect for the allegory that they're attempting to establish. I think the canon expansion is that the Federation literally helped them to save Kronos. Like, that's what when you see the speeches that are being given by Kirkwood Smith, where he's talking about, like, we're going to evacuate everyone from the planet, and we're going to go in, and we're going to fix your atmosphere, and we're going to do all of this stuff, and, like, this is how we're going to make peace with each other, is that you're going to stop spending money on the military, and you're going to help us with the resources necessary to execute on a plan that we, the Federation, with our scientific superiority, can now assist you with, right?
Can
And
we, as you and I sitting here doing Deep Space Nine in 2025, looking at a how many years old is almost
30 plus,
year old property, the presentation of the Klingons in Berman era, the retconning of the Klingons through Enterprise and showing the falling empire.
Yeah.
Is this the same story we're talking about? These very obvious Russian Klingons are such a far cry from anything you see out of either version of the Berman era.
Well, I feel like there's some of it that works and some of it that doesn't. This is clearly much more human. This is less, heavy metal samurai from the dead,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the Voltaire line is that I don't remember exactly. Less alien in that regard, less obsessed with very, like, specific sense of honor and duty and Stovacor. Like, none of that's there, sure, but there is still a warrior ethos. There is still a very dramatic flair to the Klingons, and this does give you a bridge as to why the Klingon Empire becomes a sort of secondary power within the Alpha Quadrant, is that they had to subordinate themselves to the Federation to survive. They're intact. They have their space. They are in control where they are in control, but it's clear by the time of TNG that the Klingons are a secondary power. They can't really threaten the Federation anymore. And The reason being is that they had to in order to live because the Federation stepped up and helped them survive a catastrophe of their own making. So that part works. The cultural stuff is rougher. And you just have to kind of like, okay, well, this was made in 1991, and a lot of that stuff didn't get developed until later. There's a lot of TNG left to make, let alone DS9 and Voyager.
I would say for the purposes of this movie, I have to look at them as separate entities. And I think that this version of the Klingons stands on its own two legs great.
And I think actually the piece that might, the rug that ties the room together might be the augment virus. If you really think of Chang as someone who looks more human and less Klingon, and you think of the TOS Klingons as have being the augment Klingons, and this is that transition period between, the Klingonness of them starting to reassert themselves and the humanness of them starting to fade. Like maybe that's the reason why you can justify as a retcon that it's different. The Chang and some of these other Klingons, they have this more human flair to them because they're the transition generation that's moving back towards the augment virus getting through their DNA and them being more and more like real quote unquote Klingons.
So Praxis blows up, and obviously we're not going to go blow through the movie, but there's some key points I want to touch on. The use of Sulu as a meanwhile elsewhere guy, like it's great. I love the energy he brings in as captain. I love pairing the Enterprise with another Starfleet ship, right? Like I think that's important that the Enterprise is never the only Federation ship on the screen for things, whether it's the Reliant as the bad guy or the Excelsior as like the Federation needs to seem like more than one ship. And this is a great way to pair it up without having a ton of ships there, but like here's the best of the best. And I think he says that the Excelsior has been deployed on a 3-year mission doing nothing but like charting gas. So this is a pretty chill time for Starfleet, it seems, right? Like if they just had the Excelsior tied up for 3 years doing nothing but gas reconnaissance, I think it positions the Federation be like, yeah, maybe peace is an option. Maybe, and that's a big part that we'll get into because they blow up, they back report, whatever. Enterprise is already on Earth and they get pulled into this high-level briefing. Everybody on the crew, the bridge crew, is like, why the fuck are we here? This is like admirals and stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. Like, what is this?
Never mind the fact that on the Enterprise at this point, like, Scotty got promoted to captain, right?
And is still a captain, as you can see on his uniform.
And Spock is a captain.
Correct.
And Kirk used to be an admiral, but he's a captain.
Correct.
3 captains, 1 ship.
I mean, it's a special circumstance, right? Like, yeah, should you have 3 full bird captains in on one vessel? No, but not everyone is the fucking Enterprise under Kirk. Let's let them cook, right? Like, yeah, they should have all been in charge of other things, like we point, but they're good at this. Just let them be good at this.
Yeah, you know what? They've saved us a lot. Maybe we will leave them there as our uh-oh button.
Oh, do we need to save
cheating.
the Earth? Get those guys.
I think these guys are cheating. And they're... Well, we'll get into that in a minute. But they're sitting there at this briefing, and the feeling in the room, because they're like, hey, Klingons are coming to us. There's this de-escalation, and we have a chance for a better tomorrow.
It's very interesting that this movie directly impacts unification in TNG in that way. Is that Spock's failure to understand the consequences of roping his compatriots into something that was his idea leads him to solo rogue diplomacy, his attempts to bring the Romulans and Vulcans together because he doesn't want to imperil anybody else. And he says that in unification, but you see it now here, and it's like, oh, okay, like Now I have context, and it actually makes a lot of sense. Spock goes through an arc here. He thinks he's got this figured out, and it goes very horribly wrong. Almost costs the life of his best friend, and he is like brooding right before the finale. He's like, "I fucked up. This was a
Mm-hmm.
terrible fucking idea. You were right, Jim. I'm sorry." In the way that he can.
But the mood in the room is all of these Starfleet upper brass military guys who have spent the past
Their lives.
entire career, being at odds with the Klingons and now being confronted of, you might all be not only irrelevant, but this entire organization might be irrelevant. And as is called out in Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan by David, Kirk's son, Starfleet is the military.
Yep.
What is that going to do to us? Are we going to mothball the entire fleet? And I think there's a line and they're like, no, there's still science and exploration, which great tie-in because you've got season 1 TNG running, and that is all Starfleet is. In fact, we just did the Jem'Hadar episode where the Odyssey gets blown up.
Yeah.
And the whole conversation there about
The
what
soft underbelly of Starfleet becoming a non-military organization has presented a weakness that someone is going to exploit.
This doctrine being incompatible. And that gets tied in directly here too, right? Like one of these admirals or someone calls out like, okay, so we stop being militaristic as we've been forced to through the events of TOS. And we put the guns away because the Klingons are gone. Well, how long until some other race comes along with sticks and they want to fight? And now we're not ready for it. And the Borg are such a radical outlier. Like, okay, that was that. But like everything they're talking about in that scene is going to happen with the fucking Jem'Hadar and the Dominion. Like,
yep.
Okay, you weren't ready. And the Galaxy class is built around this defective doctrine that, we can protect ourselves and we can bring civilians into space and that things will be okay. And here's guys that are just exist for war only, and this is what's going to happen. So great foreshadowing there.
I also like that it's Admiral Cartwright, who we know. Well, we've seen him. He was in Star Trek 4 and 5. He's played by Brock Peters. And there's a continuity there. There's actually a continuity in a few things. Sarek is in this film. The Klingon ambassador is the same guy from going all the way back to Star Trek 3. It feels like this is the same universe and time has passed in it. And these are similar people who are in their roles.
And growing and changing. What was Renee's deleted scenes?
So Renee Avageros plays a character named Colonel West. He is actually the guy that Scotty kills at the end, who's the assassin. He is yeah. So he's in the movie as that. But his major scene was actually right after that first briefing with the president, where he comes in because he's the Starfleet Marine Corps commandant, and he comes in with a plan to go to Rua Pente to go get Kirk and McCoy out. And he's got like a flip chart and shit of like, here's what we're gonna do, and here's like we're gonna do this, and then the president's like, what if that starts an interstellar war? And he's like, well, then we'll clean the chronometers, sir. Like we'll win the war. Like, we're better than them.
I used to be a Mako.
And apparently they cut his scenes at his request. He's like, he didn't like the way it was, that he was the militaristic way that it all came off, and they decided to just get it out of the film.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he wasn't in it a lot, but it was like an interesting like moment where you see the Federation brass more aligned with like, maybe we should fight these guys. It sets that table a little bit more. So, like the conspiracy having Federation cooperation makes sense.
Kirk being completely blindsided by all of this, and a very raw and emotional moment. And there's a lot of ever since Star Trek 2 forward, Kirk's relationship with his dead son is called to question by us as, why isn't this a bigger deal? Why aren't these motivations present? It should be a big a big part of a decision that was made here or there in the follow-up movies that are never really touched on. So him all of a sudden loving his son and having pictures and having the specter of this death looming over him. Like, on one hand, you could be like, well, where'd this all come from? On the other hand, it's absolutely deserves to be there. It should have been there the entire time.
Right.
I'm glad to see that amount of attention on it. And the Starfleet briefing on what's happening and what the plan is moving forward. And Kirk caught in the lurch. Because like you said, like he thought he was about to go get retired.
Yeah.
And, you know, they don't touch the I'm old and they kind of do. His arc here is my way of thinking is changing. Can I adapt? Can I embrace peace? Can I let this ugly part of myself go? It's different than the I'm getting old and I have to deal with middle life and who I
Yeah, because
want
they
to be.
did that. Yeah,
They
like
did it.
yeah.
But like I assume that is happening to some degree in the back of his mind of like, I'm reaching retirement. Can I retire? I've been this hero. I killed God.
Right.
And all of that being flipped over with the rest of the table when your last mission is going to be escorting the people that killed you as a entity might be getting deleted because the conflict with the Klingons might be over and everything you've come to know is going to change. So esoterically, the universe is going to change. And also you specifically are going to play a part in this by being a taxi bitch. You're going to get the worst Starfleet Star Trek mission there is, which is you're going to go
An
as
escort
people.
quest, yeah.
That's what we're going to close your career out with is some fucking Voyager shit. You're going to go play taxi. And it's going to be these people who killed your son or responsible for killing your son. And you're being propped up for this by your best friend who has kept you completely in the dark on all of this.
Yeah.
And just a great outburst from him, like controlled because he's in front of all of his bosses. But it's just a very deep wound that gets opened up right on screen.
Yeah, and then, like the dialogue between there's so much good dialogue in this movie that it's hard to do it justice. I love the use of Shakespeare in this movie, constant use of Shakespeare, both when they're specifically calling it out and then just kind of like, melded in, like when Marta says, I thought I would assume a more pleasing shape. Like, okay, Hamlet. Appreciate you. So the scene that he has, the conflict he has where it's like they're dying, Jim, let them die, right? Like just the way that it's like both of those are delivered. Like Spock is unusually emotional trying to appeal to him.
In the immortal words of Dr. Phlox.
Care.
The immortal words of Dr. Phlox, let them die.
Yeah. The way he says it too.
In the immortal words of let them die. The immortal words of Jonathan Archer, President of the Federation, my predecessor, let them die. They when they pick up the Chancellor, who is flying from Kronos to Earth to negotiate this peace, right?
Right.
They're using David Warner.
Yeah, who is the smoking guy. he got a better role in this movie.
He gets some juicy ass shit. So I always like to think of him as the bad guy from Tron, Dillinger, right?
Yeah, he was also the bad guy in Chain of Command. He was the
That's what I'm saying, man. He gets to be the Chancellor. He gets to be the Federation ambassador to Borderlands. Which, like, 2 Star Trek movies in a row, this guy is, like, prominently featured on screen. What? As different characters. And then, yeah, like, hey, do you want to be on the Mount Rushmore of next-gen bad guys? What? To be fair, he holds down all these roles fucking perfect.
He does.
But, like, what blackmail does he have on Star Trek that he's just fucking landing this shit, man?
I'm happy for it.
I'm happy for it, too. Did you watch For All Mankind or no? For All Mankind's views and Chernobyl too, like the military part. I'm sorry, the party the suit goons that just mean mug people and don't say anything and just are zero personality bruisers that you don't know what they are. Are they security detail? Are they goofy ministers or whatever? Like the inclusion of those guys with this Klingon porty. So there's like Chang, there's his daughter, there's him, and then there's just other guys that have like
Yeah,
these deep sullen
dudes.
eye sockets. I love their inclusion. The dinner I thought was great, and I like how it's like it seems like foggy and smoky and wet in there.
Yeah.
It looks like it stinks, and then you know they're in there just pounding fucking Romulan ale. Like what a recipe for disaster. That's completely justified.
uh, Christopher Plummer enters the chat at this time, and let's face it, that man makes this movie. He is such a good actor. I don't know what the fuck he got talked into doing this goddamn thing. I don't know how this happened, but he makes this fucking place. He's the guy who's doing a lot of the Shakespeare quotations to the point where in possibly the biggest laugh line in the movie to me, where he is still quoting Julius Caesar, "I'm as constant as the Northern Star," and then McCoy's like, "I should really give good money for him to shut up." Like in the middle of a space fight, they're gonna go like do the torpedo thing. I love the last act of this movie. By the way, I want to nerd out hard about it, but it's just that at a certain point that even the characters in the film are like, "Will you fucking stop with the Shakespeare? You over dramatic bitch!" I love it. It adds so much life to the movie.
My intro bit was going to be like, tell me that you just read Shakespeare for the first time without, show me without telling me. Like, did he just get access to the abyss? Like, oh my god, this is great. Have you read this? Like, yes, everybody in Interstellar is great. Thank you. That's like 18 years ago. Can we stop? This human stuff is wow. Like, if you think the Starfleet crew is done with his shit, think of his own crew. Like, everybody's got to be done with hearing this guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of great like cut to scene like one-liners too that are like semi-comedic. I remember like going back to the beginning of the movie. To report this, sir? It was Janice Rand too who was asking that question. Like, sir, like Sulu just turns like, "Are you kidding?" Like, just this movie is replete with like just amazing like little moments, little one-liners like that, where you're just like, give it to me.
Yeah, like, are you kidding? I don't know with you, sir, because you go off reservation heavily, apparently, and I think that any question about are we going to do things by the book or are we going to maybe try to kill ourselves? When he's like, the ship's going to fly apart. Well, then fly her apart.
Fly apart then. Like, oh god, Sulu rules in this movie. Like he's down for his boys, right? Like he is here for his fellas. He is coming in like for his friends, and you don't need him to tell you that. His actions tell you that.
Yeah. He is part of the squad, and he's got the resources that they need right there. He understands the stakes, and he's been through all this shit, and it's go time. So part of the conspiracy here is obviously to place the Enterprise as the vehicle that is going to bring them back, because it works. Kirk, sacrificing Kirk, which, like, that's how dirty the fucking conspiracy really is from the Starfleet side. Like, Kirk is a team player. Kirk has the Earth's greatest hero, not just Kirk, but the Enterprise as a whole. Like, you're going to take all these guys and you're going to sacrifice them on the altar of war because you're that scared that you're going to take your greatest, someone everybody in that room owes their life to. How many Star Trek movies are to this point? 6. So at least 5 times he has saved everybody's life, and you're going to go, all right, sorry, Kirk. It's got to be you. You're going to give us our one last saving grace because we feel that the Klingon Empire needs to go down, to the point we're cooperating with the Klingon Empire to engineer this war. We're going to play Spock. So Spock gets played, basically, right?
Yeah. We're going to use Spock's prediction for the fact that he is his father's son. We're going to put him in a position where he's going to feel like he's ambitiously resolving the major conflicts in the galaxy. And we're going to use that Kirk is both capable and prejudiced as a premise by which to blame him for a attack on this vessel so that we can justify a war. And yeah, it's a perfect setup, and he is the perfect patsy, and he has played as one.
Stack your crew with willing saboteurs.
Yep, we're gonna make sure that we've got some goons. We're gonna go grab Kim Cattrall real quick, put her in Vulcan makeup. Definitely not suspicious, and
What do you mean?
we're gonna get it done. So yeah, we haven't talked about Valeris yet. So with no helmsman, the ship needed a helmsman. The idea that they weren't expecting to go back into space, they gotta, we need a substitute, and it turns out Spock's protege, who we've not seen before, Lieutenant Valeris, played by Kim Cattrall, more famous, of course, for Sex in the City, would step in. I think she did a great job of playing a Vulcan.
That was not Christy Alley.
No, they wanted to use Savick. That was actually one of the big fights that Meyer had with Roddenberry. That Savick was going to be in the conspiracy, and ultimately that didn't happen because Christy Alley was too expensive, and they didn't consider going to Robin Curtis.
How would you have felt about that?
I would have been more. I would have been more surprised. Like the who done it is kind of obvious. Who did it? Maybe the person we don't know, who we saw talking to the goons. Like if you had taken the goon scene out and you had put Savick in that spot, it would just seem like she would naturally be the person to be the helmsman because she's been the helmsman of the Enterprise before,
Mm-hmm.
and she knows everyone. She is the extra crew member that could just be there, that you wouldn't find suspicious, and then for her to be the one would have been shocking and actually like really hurt everybody in a way that would have been personal. I think it would have been a great addition to the film if she was the betrayer.
I agree. I think as is, this character is still great, and I know you're butthurt that the surprise gets ruined a little bit, but this placeholder for the Vulcan replacement to Spock works. This mentorship betrayal, very powerful later on,
Oh
and
yeah.
like the grooming of there needs to be this Vulcan inclusion in on the bridge, and you're going to be the next generation of that, and I've got nothing but the highest expectations for you. And I like the Vulcan being dirty without, okay, well, I don't know. Did they memory beta that she's got Romulan connections or something? Didn't I hear something about that?
Probably, but let's just keep it to the film because I still think it works as it is.
And especially so as we get out of the Maquis stuff, uh, because when you can drag Vulcans into being naughty and bad, when they're very frequently portrayed as like lawful good, and not willing, like it lends such credibility to the bad guys that like this isn't irrational mustache twirling. Like there is a basis for why this is happening. There is a logical reason why these extreme crimes could be committed, and it really just lends a legitimacy to what the other side is doing. And that's a big part of like why this movie's great, is like the bad guys, like you can see why, like
Yeah.
it's justifiable.
I
So
I loved the mentorship element between the two, despite them not having a lot of runway to develop it. That scene they have in Spock's quarters where he's trying to guide her and has a great line of logic is the beginning of wisdom, not the end.
mhm.
Like I'm trying to tell you, like logic shouldn't dictate your actions. Logic should inform your decision making.
And the callback there where that's her trying to approach him and like get him in on the conspiracy.
Or like try to tell him like this is a turning point that you're involved in something that maybe you shouldn't be, but is unable to give voice to it in a way that's direct because she's no, I'm sorry, she's Vulcan, not Klingon. There it's like that scene and then revisiting it near the end when he interrogates her in front of everybody, you know.
Super
And,
good.
and the way he's emotional about it too, very subtly, right? Like Spock at this point is fully matured, right? He has gone through his whole arc. He is the
He
best version
hasn't
of
though.
Spock.
And that's goes exactly what you're talking about with unification. Is this is a movie about Spock's pride and hubris because he's wrong on two things. One is ambushing Kirk with this mission and basically dragging him in without consent, and his hubris in the major conspirator in all of this being his own protege underneath his nose, like he takes two big black eyes in this movie. And I think that they resolve it in follow-up appearances of Spock wonderfully. So
I'm
he's
talking about his. You're correct, of course, but I'm talking about his emotional development, right? Like Spock as a character in Star Trek Two is still very buttoned up. This is a character that's been through a lot. He's now more in touch and he's more comfortable with his emotions. He's able to he has no problems relating to his friends anymore. Like him, the Doctor, and Kirk, they get along great now. He's able to take command of a difficult circumstance and relate to everyone where they are in a way that I don't think Spock previously would have been able to. As I love his performance in this movie, just from the subtlety of all of that, the way the emotion occasionally creeps into his voice and the way that he talks. Reminds me of that monk in that episode of Voyager we watched that was like trying to teach Tuvok how to maintain his emotional control. Of like older Vulcans have it down, right? They've mastered it finally. And he has been through a very different way of doing that. He literally died and came back to life and to recreate himself in a fashion.
and they
But
call it
now
out.
yeah. Oh, great line. Like, then we're dead. He goes, I've been dead before. And it's very contemplative as he's trying to figure out what the next thing is to do, right? Like, I refuse to accept that as a limitation. The the chaos of the attack, the fact that it's ultimately obviously Chang in a bird of prey that's fired while cloaked was very like we'll call that the Red October element
Mm-hmm.
of it, right? There's a secret Soviet super weapon that can do things that
I love it's all hot on the tail of this debacle of a dinner, and
yeah.
like everybody's actively hungover, and he drags him on the bridge, and he's like, "I don't care, radiation," and like switches into work mode, like, "Uh oh, we've got a dilemma," and then just Kirk's worst day. I would say that this is probably Kirk's worst day at work, right? Like being
Yeah.
framed for murder and being helpless to stop and having to fucking sacrifice yourself and go to Klingon hell jail in order to facilitate a peace that you don't believe in. Like some real good soldier stuff here.
I liked how he immediately took command. Like, okay, I'm not going to be responsible for interstellar war on the verge of galactic peace. I'm going over there. I'm going with McCoy, and we're just going to throw ourselves on the grenade
But before
of
that,
whatever.
like the attack, having the guys beam over in suits and gun the place down, a lot of gratuitous violence for Star Trek, doing it in zero G. Great touch. I think the blood effects hold up wonderful.
Considering how old they are, yeah.
Yeah,
The pink blood is definitely like they retcon that. Like, I don't think
I
ever. Yeah,
I
like
like it. I
whatever.
thought it was visually striking. It was cool. It was like my two complaints about this movie is why were they not shooting with disintegrate on when they very clearly demonstrate that these phasers are capable of disintegrations, and then also the need to return back to the Klingon transporter pads was interesting, like why they wouldn't have just been beamed back where they were.
Well, probably because of the need to try and hide what they're doing. Maybe made it necessary for them to utilize the transporter pads. But who knows?
Hmm.
I think the not using disintegrate is because they wanted bodies. They want a gruesome
True.
scene because they want to emphasize the criminality of what occurred. Um, the
Witnesses.
Yeah, you want witnesses. You want them to talk about it. You want to make it so war happens. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to do that if everyone's dead, right? It's like harder to determine what occurred. Um, and the idea that the what's a little sloppy is like Kronos One just leaves. Like they don't blow up the Enterprise. The Enterprise doesn't blow them up. They don't really like resolve what happened there, right? Um,
They don't
and
need to.
Enterprise, yeah, and then the Enterprise is like, okay, what the fuck do we do now? Like, and the Federation doesn't really have a way to like make them come back, right? Like they can stay out in space and be kind of traitors, which is what they are for a while.
It's not the
Um,
first time. I mean, when they were chilling out on Vulcan, they were outlaw outside of Starfleet's reach.
it is true. This
Um,
is where the Enterprise crew likes to live, and I did enjoy the part of the film where Spock takes command of the Enterprise for the first time, like very clearly. All right, it's 2:30 in the morning. I'm in charge. Note the log. All right, now let's get this problem fucking solved, everybody.
I am the
It's time to
captain.
put yeah.
Well, he was the captain of the Enterprise before when it was like a training vessel.
Correct. He was the captain of the Enterprise when after Kirk got promoted to admiral. That's why
So
he is a captain. This was his command.
before we move off the attack real quick, I do want to point out that when the Starfleet conspirators are walking down the hall, gunning everybody down. Did you see the one Klingon that gets shot and like flies down the hallway? That
Yeah.
fucking shitty TNG flashlight spinning in the air.
Yeah.
It's such a I'm glad to see even the Klingons fell victim to this shitty technology.
So I guess the next big bit is you have the dueling sort of negotiating, which Spock they cuts Chekhov asks what'll happen if we can't rescue him, and he goes, then it is in the hands of the diplomats, and then you get to see they're not going to do anything here. There is consequences for this, but Asadbor still wants to negotiate, which is critical. And the trial scene having a surprise Worf in it, I thought was a very clever move. That this is one of his ancestors.
The trial scene being so good that them using it in Enterprise almost verbatim in terms of like the staging of what a Klingon trial would look like.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to see these movies establish things and to nail it so well that when I see it, my first introduction to it being TNG, or in this case, Enterprise, like, oh, okay, that's why they set up like this, because this fucking scene rules. Like, yeah, this looks great.
I did like the use of the old school, we're in the UN hand translators, because you've got the translators who are, they having Christopher Plummer do the Klingon, and then they zoom back out. Now he's speaking in English, so we can do the rest of the scene kind of normally.
Thank you. I didn't have subtitles. I appreciate it.
There's a straight reference to Adlai Stevenson having that debate with the Soviet ambassador in the UN over the Cuban Missile Crisis of, don't wait for the translation, answer me now. Great stuff like that. The way he prosecutes it, Plummer's so good. Just he's so charming and yet evil. He just captures the whole vibe in the courtroom. He's able to prosecute both of them successfully.
You could have, to your complaints about the movie and spoiling it, like when they play his clip from his personal log where he's motherfucking the Klingons and basically self-condemns himself.
Yeah.
Like at that point, Kirk should have been like, oh, that fucking bitch. That was clearly standing there while I was giving a personal log of racism with my door open,
which is of course exactly what happens. When he gets back, he tells Spock, when you have that whispered conversation, it's fucking Valeris, by the way. That's who was there when I was doing that log. That's how that's how it got.
I guess you could have just opened the playbook up more, and once they start trying to hunt down who the conspirators were, giving her more screen time of sabotaging their efforts to try to find and plot that up more, instead of trying to assume that the audience hadn't already picked up on it, not only by her telling those two to go get to work and murder people, but also Kirk getting hanged out to dry here by his own log that clearly she was the one who recorded. It's a kangaroo court, but of course it's got to be, right?
Right.
This is the path to peace. And they're going to show a little bit of mercy so the Federation doesn't get too bad. They're not going to kill him. They're just going to send him to the worst place ever, which I got to say, we've seen some real shitty work camps before. I don't think Ruapenthe is one of the more harsher ones. I think I've seen worse work camp prisons out of Voyager.
Yeah, Ruapenthe seems like a very cold summer camp. They get there. It's more played for laughs than anything, to be honest. Kirk getting into fights with people. Kirk, a great joke about Kirk charming alien babes. Straight up McCoy going, "What is with you?" Every time.
Listen, Bones, we're in prison. We're gonna be kissing a lot of people. All right, you better let this let this prude nature of yours go, because it can get real loosey goosey in here. What they call Rio Penthe, the alien
Aliens graveyard.
graveyard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the commandant of the camp? Because that guy's a real gas.
I believe we've seen him before.
Oh, isn't that the fucking guy from Voyager?
Yep. I'm trying to find his name. It's something Shepard. It's Mark Shepard. Yeah, it's Mark Shepard.
The guy from
he's the other he's the dad of the guy who
the
plays I forget on Supernatural.
The demon.
Crowley on Supernatural. Because that's if I forget if his name's David Shepard or Mark Shepard. But yeah, he's that guy's dad. And we saw him in that Voyager episode where he's like the Ahab going after the white whale.
Wearing
like,
that fucking catcher's mitt for a prosthetic mask. That was terrible.
Yeah, like in 7 of 9 and Naomi Wildman have to help him or something.
Yeah. This dude's awesome. The shapeshifter. What's her deal? Is she a founder?
No, she's a different species. She happens to be a shapeshifter, but she is not a founder. That is something that has long since been theorized. She actually says what her species name is: cameloid. So something else. There is another cameloid in Star Trek, and I'm sorry to tell you that it's from Section 31.
The movie?
So, yeah, the movie.
Skip.
So Sam Richardson's character from that is supposed to be that. Yeah.
Cut, edit. Just go and edit that. We're talking about one of the best movies I've seen in a long time right now. Don't bring this fucking Section 31 trash up.
The actress who played Martia just goes by Amon. That's it.
I will say she has that right, because she is hot, and if she wants to go by one name, then that is her prerogative. I think she does a good job. I think she's fun. It's a zany. Is it zany? They do a nice job making this seem like a crazy place, an alien's graveyard. If you piss off the fucking Klingons, this is where we're going to dump you, and everybody in this place seems like an asshole or a problem that is here for a great reason. Ultimately, she leads them off. Like, what's the play here exactly? Like, they want Kirk to die.
So when they escape, the explanation is it would have been too suspicious if both of them had died in some sort of convenient mining accident. So they needed a way to kill both of them that would not be suspicious. And so the way she puts it is killed while trying to escape. That's good for both, right? Like, that justifies both of your deaths. So you lure them out. Oh no, you got. Now you're off the picture, and we have this rationale as to why you were killed. That is sufficient for why you're both dead.
The conspiracy, or just
the conspiracy?
Why would the conspiracy want them dead, though?
No loose ends, right?
Not really loose ends.
You're Kirk. You're if you go, you are trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. If you're dead, you can't, right? You are James T. Kirk. You save worlds. You do shit. We need to get rid of you.
I think it makes more sense that there are elements within the Klingon government that want Kirk dead, because he is like public enemy number one, and just, seemingly killed the Chancellor. So, like, I would say that's a good enough motivation on its own. The conspiracy wanting him dead, because I suppose, yes, if there's going to be one person who is going to stop you,
it's going to be that guy. Yeah.
So it works on both ends. Movie does a great job just across the board of nothing sticks out as dumb or out of place or miserable or just a big plot hole. Like, I agree, Uhura, of all people, knowing zero Klingon, kind of a head scratcher. At the same time, it's not like they were in diplomatic relations with the Klingons. Like,
but they dealt with them all the time. I mean, you just don't know their language, really? Like, at all? Like, not even a little? No, not even Come Estas. Like, just gotta look up every word. I understand if she had a scene where she's like, I've not had to do this for a long time, and she's like struggling with the syntax or something like that, but like books and shit, like, really? Okay. Come on. But it serves its purpose. They beam him out. Again, some great one-liners because they're about to explain the evil conspiracy and then beams him out. And he's like
So
up,
good.
he's cursing as he's like, damn it, God, son of a bitch. Like, he's about to explain the whole thing. Like,
I think
you
my
want to go
favorite.
back? Absolutely not. It's cold.
Yeah, that was my favorite humor beat of that. Like,
Great. Great.
mm-hmm.
Um, the conflict with Valeris after they call her out and lure her into sick bay between him and Spock. Great. You have to shoot. If you are logical, you have to shoot. I don't want to. What you want is irrelevant. What you've chosen is at hand. Just poetry. This movie has such good dialogue.
So there's this whole scene where they're going through the chase. Like, where's this shit at? Tearing the ship apart. I loved all that. I loved all the next gen sets I'm getting to see here.
It shows that the ship has also got a ton of people on it, which
Yeah.
is canonically correct. Like they packed them in, and they just have every corridor. These are fucking TNG corridors. They feel so much busier by having all of these extras.
It's all the look at the lower decks with people hot bunking.
Yeah,
Uniforms getting dumped in. Everybody's a suspect. The galley scene where she needlessly disintegrate, just to educate the audience as to like what happens when you shoot a phaser on a ship sometimes. But there is a line in the sand that if you disintegrate something, that will set off the alarms. But apparently stun doesn't. So the two not the bad guys, but the assassins, she just get them in a headlock and shoot them point blank on stun until she stunned their brains into death? Is that what?
yeah, just like, hey, take a look at my titties. I don't know. Who knows? Got them both in the head with stun at close range. Killed them both.
That's a ugly fate, huh?
Yeah.
But maybe you didn't kill them. Maybe they're alive, and now we have the court reporter coming in because we're going to lure your ass out and create a situation where you're going to have to get your hands dirtier for that ambush. And that is the disappointed dad angle that Spock's able to take there. Excellent.
Oh yeah. And they call up Sulu. It's like, hello, Captain Sulu. Are you prepared to be the absolute realest homie ever? And he's like, yes. This is where it is. It's at Kittimer. Get thee there. We'll get there as quickly as we can.
Also, please tell Christian Slater hello for us.
Yeah. By the way, Christian Slater is in this movie for half a second because his mom was the casting director. No shit.
And he likes Star Trek. I love all the people like, I like Star Trek and I want to be in it. Give me a uniform, please.
Just for 10 seconds. I'll be a shadow in the doorway, waking Sulu up and asking why he's going to commit treason. And
my wife's watching and she's like, what's going on with this guy? Why are they doing? I'm like, because it's fucking Christian Slater, which I get is kind of like outside your accessibility for like movies. But, we did sit there and watch True Romance. Don't act like you don't know. Kittimer. Great. So this is a Battle of Kittimer?
Yes, same place. So this place has a grim fate in the future.
Is it in the... Oh, yeah, because it's the Enterprise C.
No, so the Kittimer massacre was something that happened where Worf was orphaned, if you recall. And so you're thinking of the Battle of Niagara 3, which was when the Enterprise C fought the Romulans in a dying effort. The Romulans showed up and someone, Duras, betrayed the colony and it was raised by the Romulans, and it was the Federation who showed up to help afterwards. And that's how Worf wound up being adopted by a Russian family, because the Intrepid, where Mr. Rozhenko was serving as a chief, found him and adopted him. So this place has a bad future, but it is known to be a Klingon outpost on the edge of its space. So it makes so much more sense for it to be where the conference is going to be held if it's at a neutral-ish location. And all of this is in service of an absolute banger of a finale space battle, all things considered. The music is great. The premise is great, which is Enterprise is trying to beam people down so they can try and stop an assassination from happening, because that's the information they have from Valeris at this point. And they can't do that because Chang is in the cloaked bird of prey taking pot shots at them, and they are unable to return fire effectively because it's shooting and moving and is invisible. And
I love Scotty's complete meltdown when, you know, that's what's the plot device laid on the table. Like, this is, we've spent the majority of our space fights that have really mattered on this TV show dealing with cloaked ships, and like the idea that there could be a cloaked ship that could fire, like, does not compute to this guy. And we're like, we gotta tell
absolutely, yeah.
Starfleet, and tell them what? That we're all fucking crazy and we're willing to say whatever cockamamie thing it takes to save our friend's life. Like, we are the only people that can possibly unfuck this. Luckily, the Earth doctrine of taking the most important places and having zero orbital defenses, right?
Yeah.
We jump right to the end of Enterprise here, where I'm sorry, season 3, where
The
the
Zindi show
Zinni
up.
come in at this completely uncontested. I don't even think the Klingons know that bird of prey is up there. Here's our super secret meeting, and we've already had assassination attempts, and there's all these diplomats. No patrol vessels, nothing. It's just going to be a 2v1 death match up in the sky.
I did like that Spock made a reference to his ancestors saying, you know, if you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however unlikely, must be the truth, thus creating the canon connection that on his mother's side, Spock is related to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, because it's a Sherlock Holmes quote.
Mm. Mm.
And it's like, he's very whodunits it, right? Like, he
Mm-hmm.
actually does, like, Sherlock Holmes stuff in this movie. So the space battle is very operatic and very just fun in its own way. Chang is just unlimited Shakespeare quoting while taking shots. The damage piling up on the Enterprise, the way it's shown, is visceral. There's even a torpedo shot that after the shields go down, like pierces the saucer
Yeah.
section.
Yeah.
You see that like the torpedo like pass through and they like blow the setup and shit, and it's
Mm-hmm.
very cool. You see like all these guys running around. There's fires. There's people in like different you know, crisis suits essentially. Like the ship feels like a military vessel in a battle, and it's taking damage. And the resolution of it being, well, Starfleet's been really busy with all of this gaseous anomaly stuff, and we've got the same equipment to chart it, like, because they set that up literally in the prologue.
Yeah.
Why don't we use that to trace their ionized gas that's coming out of their exhaust and shoot them? And it's like, love that you set it up at the very beginning that Starfleet's been on this kick lately, and we just
It's a real
have this
phase for them.
It's a real phase for them. And, you know, all right, Doctor, would you like to join me in doing surgery on a torpedo? Fascinating. Just cut to great tension build. They're like in their key, you know, doing the surgery on the torpedo. They load like, it's ready, Jim. Lock and load. And it's like William Shatner practice. Like, this is the last time I get to do this. Hold on 1 second. Fire. Just like, I'm gonna clench the fist. Just gonna get the push-in shot. We're doing this.
Through all of this too, you've got Excelsior flying in for backup, and that's great framing because Excelsior's always been the ship that was supposed to be built to push the limits of speed with the trans warp drive. I think there's a very thoroughbred look to the Excelsior, so this thing just hauling ass.
Yes.
Running full sprint, trying to get here like before the thing is over, so it can come in for like last minute, like, we're here, we didn't miss it. Let's hammer this fucking guy. I did want to jump back real quick. Spock, who has fucked up bad, and now his friend has been dragged off. His friends have been dragged off to torture camp.
Yeah.
I love how when he does take over and assert, like, it's the perfect presentation of Spock of like, this is the guy that always solves a mystery.
Yeah.
This is the guy who is singularly built around finding out what's happened here. And again, like his growth points, like as it contrasts to like what happens when something is just so out of place and crazy. Like there's no stumbling blocks for him in this. normally like the plot would be like, okay, well, there's something that's a little too zany, and he's always the one to like pump the brakes and be like, it can't be. This would be his to Paul, like the Vulcan Science Directorate has said that there is no such thing as time travel. Like, this dude's third eye is open on his head, and
I
like he
literally
sees
came back
all
from
Vista.
death. Yeah, nothing. There's nothing that's impossible.
I don't care what we have to do. I'm saving my friend, and we're going to
Yeah,
use science and magic and anything else.
and I also will lie. I will lie my ass off. We will lie to our bosses. Like, I know why, because that's what I'm doing today.
Yep.
That's what's up. I don't need to explain myself to you.
Yeah. And also, what a great job to close your careers out on by the end of this, when you have just exposed that like half of Starfleet is willing to do the most dirtiest dirt and sacrifice all of you in the process. Like, this is the right time to get out of this organization, by the way.
Yeah,
It's not safe here anymore.
guy's got problems. By the way, deuces.
Yeah.
They dramatic. They're able to finally successfully hit the Chang ship thanks to the torpedo. We have a very satisfying, target that explosion and fire from Sulu. They
No
pile
phasers
on,
in this movie either. It's all torpedoes all the way.
blow the shit out of them, beam down, have a old people action sequence, which they had avoided up to this point for a good reason. Up to and including big old Scotty busting the door down and shooting Colonel West and defenestrating him out the window. But all in service of, having that big wrap up scene of Kirk finally finishing his journey through the movie, which is, he's the one who's afraid of the undiscovered country, the future. And, people can be very frightened of change, is the great line he concludes his remarks on. And it ties up the theme of the movie. It ties up his journey and provides this perfect and then everyone claps moment where peace is going to be possible. The Federation's better angels will in fact assert themselves, and they beam back up to the Enterprise. And as he says, once again, we have saved civilization as we know it. And as Bones says, and the good news is they're not going to prosecute. It's like, excellent. Excellent. We saved the world and they're not going to put us in jail. We did it, boys.
Not going to put us back in jail. It's nice that the Klingons also follow, what is it, General Order number 2?
Yeah, if you violate orders, but it all works out, and then it's okay. Yeah,
mm-hmm. All the bad stuff goes away.
So then they are told, guys, it's over. Time to come home. They're like, one more joyride before we head out.
I do like that they that there is the correct amount of weight in the idea of losing the Enterprise.
Yeah,
this time, like that was one of the parts of Khan that stood out as was everybody just, oh, okay, whatever, the ship blew up, we don't care. Now there is the proper amount of gravitas on this, and as you pointed out, this is closure for the entire franchise until whatever Generations is and is not. But it's the last time the crew will be seen together. It's the last time they're in command of their ship and masters of their own fate. And I love the second star to the right and straight on till midnight. We're going to live on forever in fantasy.
In Neverland. Yeah, it's Peter Pan. Yeah. Straight on until morning, but yeah.
So, great movie top to bottom, obviously. Great way to close the series out. Great ladder to elevate Star Trek across the board as a powerhouse.
Yeah. And I want to return to something I said at the beginning, which is this is the template of Trek taking itself seriously. This is the template of Trek deciding to do mature storytelling through the lens of Trek rather than treating things as too idealistic, doing the monster of the week stuff. Well, what if the Federation had some dirt under its fingernails? What if people had biases? What if they acted in a way that was racist? What if they had to overcome their weaknesses and become better people. And what this starts ends with Deep Space Nine, I think, fully realizing what Trek can be if it takes those principles on. All right. Well, I think that wraps up our discussion. Thank you so much to our patrons who support our efforts and make it possible for us to do these extra episodes. As we had suggested in one of our recent normal episodes, we don't know exactly what we're going to do next for patrons, but I'm advocating for us doing Kids with the Embraced. But I mean, I see Peter grimacing. I may not win that battle, but whatever it is,
aren't we supposed to watch RoboCop? I believe. Speaking of,
I think we were supposed to do RoboCop. Yes, there's a lot of possibilities. So we'll figure out what those are. We'll put them up for discussion for the patrons, obviously, since they should have a lot of buy-in on that. And once again, for all of you who are paying our bills for putting the show on, it does make it easy to do the show, and we really do appreciate that. So thank you.